Hey, welcome back, everyone. As veterans or first responders, you've already done it. You've screwed something up. You've missed something that you should have caught. Or the best one, you for sure have forgotten something and usually realize it on the way to the operation. And so then what do? We immediately start getting the reason ready, formulating our explanation. Now, maybe some part of the explanation is true, but usually not all of it. And the worst part is not taking that figurative knee long enough to truly evaluate what your part of the screw up was. Because when you can explain it away, in your mind, you're able to be done with it and you're able to move on like it wasn't as important as it was. That's the same problem most of us carry into transition. It's not that we screw up. It's not that we make mistakes, because all of us do. It's that we don't take the time to extract anything from those setbacks. We put more effort into protecting our story instead of fixing what's missing. And the dangerous part is, it doesn't feel like we're avoiding anything when we do it. You just tell yourself that you'll do better next time. But you can't improve how you handle it next time if you don't take the time to be honest with what you screwed up this time. Failures and setbacks aren't what slow us down. It's the time we spend explaining it instead of owning it. It's the disconnect between what happened and what you're willing to personally admit about it. But before we go any further, let's take a quick break to acknowledge a sponsor of the podcast. As a first responder, control isn't optional. It's how you do your job. But when it comes to buying or refinancing a home, most lenders don't get your world. Police Mortgage does. They specialize in working with first responders, walking you through the process, breaking down your options, and helping you lock in competitive rates without the runaround. Take control of your financial future with people who have your back. Visit policemortgage.com or call 312-499-8878. Police Mortgage, for first responders who are second to none. Experiencing mistakes or failures isn't random. It's not bad luck stacking up on you. It's not a bunch of one-off situations that just didn't go your way. More than likely, there's a pattern in it. And patterns don't come from isolated events. They come from systems that don't function properly when there's pressure on them. So identifying the pattern is also part of your transition preparation. Say you send out applications and don't hear anything back. That's not just they didn't respond. That's a breakdown somewhere, whether it was the clarity of your message, whether you're targeting the correct roles, or maybe ineffective follow-up on your part. Or maybe you get an interview, but it doesn't lead to a job. That's not always a case of they went with someone else. Or maybe you have what feels like a good conversation with someone and it goes nowhere. That's not simply they were busy. That's a missed opportunity to anchor that conversation into something actionable. And the hard part to acknowledge is that something about us might not have translated well. Either how you explained what you've done, how you connected your experience to what they need, or how you presented yourself in that moment. You need to understand, none of these are intended as personal attacks, but they're signals. And here's where most of us get it wrong. You treat the signal like it's noise. You brush past it because it's uncomfortable to admit to when you're standing in front of the mirror. However, as soon as you explain it away or you justify it, you lose the data. And without the data, you can't fix anything. So then you move forward, believing you're going to adjust, but you likely haven't changed a thing. That's how many of us stay stuck. And what's worse, we likely don't realize it. What you should be doing is immediate breakdowns. Every time you experience a miss, you need to ask yourself some questions. What exactly happened? What part of that was in my control? And what will I change before the next attempt? But this isn't something that you'll do later or after a few more tries, because the longer you wait, the more your memory loses the details. The more your ego changes it into something that wasn't your fault, along with reducing your actionable intel. And here's the part you might not like. If you've had more than a couple of these situations recently, there's a good chance it's not coincidence. It might not be timing. It might not be the job market. You have to be willing to admit it could be your current approach is exposing its limits. Now, that's not a bad thing. It's actually the fastest way to get better, if you're willing to look at it honestly. Whereas, if you keep operating without correcting, you're not gaining experience as much as you're hammering in the mistakes. Because repetition without correction doesn't build anything. It just reinforces what's already not working. So if something doesn't hit, don't move on too fast. It's that instinct that's costing you. Slow it down. Give it an honest evaluation and then fix at least one thing before your next attempt. Because if you don't, you're probably just riding the merry-go-round. However, there is another aspect to this. When something doesn't go your way, that interview that you know fell flat, a conversation that didn't turn into anything, the application that goes into the Bermuda Triangle, you're going to feel it. Maybe it'll be subtle, or maybe it'll hit harder than you expect. But make no mistake, it'll be there. But if it doesn't, then that should definitely make you look deeper into the why. But regardless, probably before you have time to process it, your mind will start working, not to fix it, to protect you. Your mind will start building a version of the story that makes it easier to accept. Making up the stories where you tell yourself, they didn't understand my background. The role really wasn't a good fit, or it wasn't a good company. Again, though some of that might be true, you also need to pay attention to what it does to you. It's shifting the ownership away from you. Now, you could ask yourself, where did I mess up? Or you could ask, why didn't that work? Where those both sound similar, they're not the same thing. One puts you inside the problem, while the other keeps you at an arm's distance from it. That's the difference between correction and protecting yourself. Here's what you need to understand. Avoiding accountability is not the solution. Accountability is what forces you to acknowledge the deficiencies you don't think you have. And yes, that is uncomfortable, especially when you're used to being competent. But your next environment is going to be different, even if it's subtle. The rules likely won't be as clear. Feedback might not always be direct, and people won't always tell you what you're lacking. They'll probably just move on from you. That's why this matters more than you think. Because what you're doing right now, how you handle mistakes, how quickly you own your part of them, that has to become your default. So here's the shift you need to make. When something doesn't go your way, don't rush to feel better about it. Be accountable and make yourself understand the truth about it. Not the version that sounds good or makes you feel better, but the version that actually helps you improve and move forward. Because the longer you avoid that moment, the more it shapes you. Remember, as veterans and first responders, we're still just human, and we all make mistakes. When it comes to your transition and going through the hiring process, you're not expected to be perfect. Nobody is. Understand that you're going to miss things. You're going to say something in an interview that doesn't come across the way you thought it would. You're going to walk out of a meeting wishing that you'd said something or answered a question differently. That isn't the issue. What those hiring managers and company executives are going to be paying attention to is what happens afterwards. Are you defensive and you want to try to explain it as if it wasn't your fault? Do you get quiet and try to avoid any follow-up questions? Do you move on and act like, it didn't matter? Or do you come back with something that has detail and better clarification? Remember, they're not just evaluating what you've done. They're also evaluating how you're going to operate when things don't go smoothly. They're going to want someone who easily course corrects, someone who makes a mistake and recovers without needing a long explanation about it. And that simply means you're not going to beat yourself up. It means you're honest about what happened and you fix it fast. And as veterans or first responders, you're used to being in a defined structure. You're used to someone being direct with you, and they tell you, this is what you need to improve. Whereas in the civilian world, that's not as guaranteed. That's why the way you handle mistakes matters more than the mistake itself. Because in a lot of cases, they're deciding based on your upside potential as it relates to them and their company. They'll want to know that you're someone who gets better as opposed to somebody who just stays the same. Will you make it easier or more difficult for them to trust you with more? So if you find yourself giving a lot of explanations or a lot of excuses, it'll likely be far less beneficial than you think. To them, it'll sound like you're someone who's going to push back instead of adjust, even if that's not your intent. So the pivot to start nailing down right now is simple, but it's not always easy. If it's your mistake, own it. And once you're aware of it, fix it fast. Don't justify it. Don't explain it. Just improve it. That's what builds your confidence and will make those who are going to evaluate you more confident in you. Because if they know you can correct yourself, they don't have to worry about managing every detail, and you'll have the room to thrive. We're going to pause for another break. And when we come back, I'll address the specific transition group tips. When it comes to sunglasses, first responders and military members definitely don't baby them. They get dropped, thrown in a utility pocket, or tossed in gear bags. Frontline Optics was created for that reality. You get premium eye protection without paying designer brand prices for something that won't survive your lifestyle. From polarized UV 400 lenses to anti-reflective coatings and water repellent finish. And here's where Frontline Optics separates themselves from the pack. When life happens and your glasses break, they offer a no questions asked replacement program, even for prescription lenses. On top of that, Frontline Optics was founded by a firefighter, and a portion of every purchase goes to support the First Responders Children's Foundation, helping families of those who gave everything. So if you're looking for sunglasses that look good and come from a company that actually understands the job, visit frontlineoptics.com and use the promo code TRANSITION10 to get 10% off your purchase. Frontline Optics, from a first responder for the front lines. When it comes to your transition, what that actually looks like depends on how close to it you are. However, the standard doesn't change. Take ownership, make corrections, and move forward. Close range group. If you're less than a year out, or maybe the exit is right around the corner, you don't have the luxury of letting things sit and wait. Do an after action on every missed opportunity. Assess things like, did you network with people, but it didn't seem to go anywhere? At this stage, it's more of a responsibility that's on you to fix. Did you leave them with something specific? Did you make sure there was a defined next step? Did you show genuine interest? Or was it simply that you had a conversation that only you thought it was good and it just ended? Are there applications that haven't gotten any responses? Don't just assume it got lost. You have to ask yourself if your resume and the documents were targeted or were they too general? Did you use the same resume for multiple applications? Did your resume and your responses show your value to the company or just list your experience? Did you follow up or did you send it and forget it? How about the interview that didn't convert to a job offer? Don't take the easy out and just say, it felt off. Think about the questions you struggled with. Analyze where and why you hesitated. Did you translate what you've done into something that they could actually understand and see being beneficial in their company? Or did your ego jump in and just expect them to figure it out? Doesn't matter which aspect you're experiencing. You need to make sure you're identifying what went right and what went wrong before you move on. Because right now, the volume is going to pick up, and you don't want to miss the small things that become bigger patterns. Medium range group. If you've got 3 to 5 years left on your ride, your job is different. You're not reacting yet, but you need to be refining how you operate before it counts. Right now, own your mistakes publicly. When something goes sideways, you missed a detail, there was miscommunication, or there was something that you could have handled better. Don't let it pass. Don't act like it wasn't a big deal. Don't explain it away because nothing really bad happened. Make sure, whatever it is, you square it up anyway. This is where you start dialing in your habits of visible accountability. It's not just knowing you made a mistake, but it's acknowledging it, owning it, and correcting it in a way that other people can see. Because later, when you're in front of someone who doesn't know you, doesn't know your background or your history, they might not assume that you're accountable. They're going to look for proof. And that proof is built right now in the small incidents that don't feel like they matter as much. Long range group. If you're early in your career and your transition is a decade or more away, this is about who you're becoming. You need to develop a habit of self-correcting. Right now, you're defining what kind of operator you are when nobody's forcing any corrections on you. This is about your own self-evaluation. Do you wait for someone to point something out, or do you catch it yourself? Do you need structure to improve, or do you create that structure on your own? Because the one who separates themselves later isn't the one who never messes up. They're the ones who adjust before anyone has anything to say. They don't always need a formal review. They don't need to be pressured to change. They're already paying attention, and that's a different level of awareness. Think about it. If you build that now, you don't just keep up later. You move ahead of people who are still waiting to be told what to correct. So remember, no matter where you are in your career timeline, the move is the same. Stop trying to explain mistakes. When you make a mistake, start breaking it down and try to fix at least one thing every time. Also, if you want more information on topics like this and transition preparation, I put out a weekly newsletter that has more detail to help you better plan and better prepare. I know you'll find it beneficial. So check out the show notes for a link to sign up. As a veteran or a first responder, there's a version of you that's going to move into whatever comes after the uniform gets put away for the last time. It's not the version of you that you say you are. It's not the version of you that you think you are. Instead, it's the version that shows up. Every time something doesn't go your way, that version of you gets shaped by what you do right after it. It's in those moments that nobody else sees. There's going to be opportunities that disappear, conversations that don't lead to anything, and interviews that don't convert into job offers. Your response will either be to make adjustments or let it slide. But over time, that becomes your default. Remember, the future version of you isn't built later. It's being built today, mainly in how honest you are when something doesn't go right. You can't expect that someone else is going to stop and point things out to you. You can't expect anyone is going to force you to fix things. And know this, it isn't whether you're going to fail again, because you will. The bigger issue is what version of you shows up right after it does. Thanks for staying until the end. Staying all the way through helps the engagement ratings. Please send me your comments. I'd like you to be honest with me. Tell me what you like. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. I can only make changes to best benefit you if you tell me what I need to change. Also, please share the podcast with anyone who you think will enjoy it or benefit from it. And if you're not already, please follow the podcast. Your next objective. Stay safe, and I'll catch you on the next one.